Good evening, viewers, and welcome to tonight's regional news. We begin with news from Venezuela. Venezuela has released two jailed U.S. citizens following talks with a high-level U.S. delegation in Caracas. One of those freed is Gustavo Carnitas, an executive with Citgo, a U.S. refining company once controlled by Venezuela's state oil firm. The other is Jorge Alberto Fernandez, who was arrested last year in Venezuela and accused of terrorism. U.S. President Joe Biden confirmed their release and said both had been wrongfully detained in Venezuela. President Biden thanked Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs Roger Carstens and the entire diplomatic team for their tireless efforts to secure their release and reunite these families. Mr. Cardenas is one of a group of 6 jailed oil executives known as the Citgo Six. A lawyer from the Citgo Six said the remaining 5 oil executives are still detained. In November 2020, they were sentenced to lengthy prison terms ranging between 8 and 13 years. While they were temporarily moved from jail into house arrest in April 2021, they were moved back to prison in October. The move came just hours after Alex Saab, a businessman with close ties to the government of Nicolas Maduro, was extradited to the U.S. from Cape Verde. The release of the 2 men is seen by analysts as a goodwill gesture by the Venezuelan government following a rare visit to Caracas by a high-level U.S. delegation. We now look at news from Colombia. President Joe Biden told Colombian President Ivan Duque on Thursday he plans to designate Colombia as a major non-NATO ally, granting the strategic status to a key country in a turbulent region as the United States seeks to isolate Russia. In White House talks, Biden and Duque said they would work toward signing a regional migration agreement at the Summit of the Americas in June in Los Angeles. Colombia is currently home to 1.9 million migrants from neighboring Venezuela. Major non-NATO ally status is a designation bestowed by the United States to close allies that have strategic working relationships with Washington but are not members of NATO. Argentina gained this status in 1998 and Brazil in 2019. Their meeting took place days after secret negotiations between senior U.S. officials and representatives of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro arranged the release of 2 American detainees. The move had raised eyebrows in Colombia, which has tense relations with Venezuela. There was no sign of tension in their public remarks. Both presidents condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and Duque said Colombia was offering assistance to countries in that region on handling the mass of people evacuating the bloodbath in Ukraine. And finally, U.S. actor Jussie Smollett has been sentenced to 150 days in jail after a jury found he lied to police about being the victim of a hate crime. The former Empire star, 39, was found guilty in December of 5 charges of felony disorderly conduct after making false reports about the hoax attack. The sentence also includes 30 months of probation and $145,000 in reinstitution and fines. The trial stemmed from an incident 3 years ago when Smollett said he was attacked by 2 assailants. The actor, who is black and gay, said the attackers shouted slurs at him and a Trump slogan, dumped a chemical substance on him, and tied a noose around his neck while he was walking late at night in January 2019. Authorities opened an investigation, but in February of that year, police charged Smollett with filing a false police report alleging he had staged the assault. Smollett faced up to 3 years in prison for each of the 5 counts. The first 150 days of his probation will be spent in custody, beginning immediately. Throughout the trial, Smollett maintained that he had been the victim of a crime. And that is all for your regional news. Thank you for joining. Good night.